wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and today we're having a look at what is a new style of map review for me. I always get so many questions about maps, like can you do a review of this map, that map, etc, etc, etc. And today I thought I'd have a crack at Rockfield because it's one of the most misunderstood maps that you're going to find in the game. Indeed, the reason I'm doing this is because there is such a huge difference. This is the left-hand side of the map as you are coming from the west, or rather the northern kind of area, the wild north wall. Now this is the standard area on the map you would go to for an encounter battle. That's fine and dandy. And you can see there that hump just below that antenna there is where you'll get mediums with a bit of gun depression, or heavies indeed with a bit of gun depression, popping up and doing the business. And this is the south side where there's a Sturm Tiger and all this kind of stuff. Now the reason I'm showing you these two different sides of Rockfield is really simple. This is where you want to go for Supremacy maps, and it's a crazy one because there's not many other maps where there's such a diversity between the encounter battle and the Supremacy battle. If you go to the encounter cap, the C cap, which is over where the heavy section is, where most of the heavy action is going to happen, you're going to struggle to cap that. It can take one tank to constantly reset. This area though, oh, and have a look at this, a few Easter eggs. Lord of the Rings fans, you can see there's a Sturm Tiger, and there's the One Ring riding on that wall, popping around all the time. And if you look over here on the northwestern spawn, you can see the One Ring. Now this is a holdover from old Rockfield. There's always been these things in the spawn, but a lot of people just don't realise it. Wargaming does this kind of Easter egg stuff all over the place. In the other spawn, in the southeastern spawn, you're going to find the Wizard Staff. Here you go. The Wizard Staff. Thou shalt not pass, baby. Actually, it looks more like Sauron's staff, doesn't it? But anyway, there you go, a little bit of Easter egg love. Now let's get back to the map itself. It's a very interesting tactical map. You can see there, that is the middle encounter cap. Very rarely will you win on an encounter cap on this map. But that is also the B cap for the map. And you can overlook B from A, but you can't really overlook B from C, which is this area right here. Now the standard TD positions in encounter mode are where this bat chat is right now. There is good brush cover, soft cover, camouflage, and there is also good solid rock there as well, so you can retreat backwards and forwards behind the rock. And if you're low enough to the ground, that works really, really well. Big TDs can just get punished here for firing, being immediately lit up, and then destroyed. Conversely, from the other side, you have a near mirror image. You can see right down the gun barrel, but if you're spotted, there is an enormous amount of firepower that can be brung to bear on you. You can also use these little areas either side of the map itself to put in really good shots and go semi-hull down by moving backwards and forwards. This can work very, very well for tanks that don't have huge gun depression numbers and are also too big to go to those standard TD encounter areas. So hat tip to that one. If you're wondering about where to go in a 183 or one of those other tanks, this may well be the place for you. Tanks that do particularly well, like the T110E4, can make a lot of hay here. Basically, turreted TDs do a lot better than others. If you move up along the encounter cap area here, along the C cap area here in a heavy, you've got to be very, very careful. And this is one of the nice design features of Rockfield. There's a lot of overlapping fields of fire that offer good cover, except there's no like absolute. So that RU-251 and that IS-5, they can move up there and do all kinds of nasty things to me. But if there is any tank that is on the other side of the map and getting a free and clear day, then they can absolutely wreck anyone that pushes up here on my flank. And you can see there is in fact a KV-4 who's gone all the way over to the other side of the map, and he got that kill there, which is absolutely astounding. But there you go. These are the things that happen. You can side scrape off these rocks, which is just all well and good, and you can do this more on this side on the eastern flank than you can on the actual other side of this heavy area here. And that's just one of those kind of little trade-offs you get. I find that the other side has a better hull down position for TDs. But anyway, I digress. Then you have the low area here underneath that antenna, and this is traditionally the big heavy push area. This is where you'll get the Mouse and the IS-7s. They'll pump down here, and this is exactly what I'm doing in this particular instance. The issue you have with Rockfield is there are certain parts of the map that simply cannot be accessed from other parts of the map. This is one of them. If you are patient here and you have a very good side scraping or hull down tank, you can really be a pain in the ass for anyone that's trying to get shots off down the gun barrel. The reason being that they can't move up, they can't move across, they can often be spotted if they're a TD, like you can see there, that T57 Heavy. You can spot him up, he can spot you up. And if you're looking for a spoilers roll, this is the perfect spot for it. The other problem with this is you cannot also be helped by anyone on that side of the map on your team. So if you push up here and try and do this, and you get chunked on by 2 or 3 really aggressive heavies, then, my friends, you are in a lot of trouble, because you can quite easily be isolated down in this lower section and taken to the cleaners. Now, I'm not so worried about that, because obviously I'm in a mouse, and the mouse is just a tremendously tough tank to pen. As you can see, I'm having a field day here, just angling, dangling, and pumping shots out. And it's all about field position for me here. I'm not really looking for damage. I'm looking to hold this section of the map. And it gives our team map control, and it allows us to really move forward from here and win it pretty bloody easily. Then you have this center mound, just under the C-cap area if you're playing Supremacy. I prefer it from the side that this bat chat is on here, with a tank with good gun depression, like, say, a Comet. You can quite often peek up here if you've got good camo, get shots, and then pull back really quickly. Now, if you don't play your cards right, you can get stuck there and spotted. That's when you have to be a little bit imaginative. Now, a lot of people don't realise this, but the 2 TD positions will struggle to put shots into anyone in this area here. Now, the problem with doing this is that it then really locks you into this position. And if you get someone coming up and just basically tunneling you, they can effectively lock you in and stop you from retreating without taking damage, especially if there's a big TD there. It's still a really good position though, and it's something that I use to no end of joy on heavy tanks that push down into the heavy roll and try and isolate the guys that are on my team and down below. And it's a really nice area to give support like that. You've got to be careful, because once you take a few shots and you penetrate a few people, they will obviously look for you, and you can take big damage very quickly. That being said, you can play this spot here from both sides. It's a mirror image map. For the most part, it's very symmetrical. You can see that waffle tractor as well. We're spotting him for days. He hits us once. We're going to hit him twice with HE. And we actually win that trade, which is pretty funny considering he's got a 640 alpha gun. But using HE well and expediently will often allow you to do lovely damage. And this is a really important position. If you don't get pushed off these areas, you get map control, and you will tend to just grind down the red guys. And you can see in both the instances in this map, I've done exactly that. That's the waffle firing HE. I wasn't giving him any angle of pen, so he just hit me with HE. He was a bit sick of it all. That IS-7, he'd like to push up, but unless you've got gun depression, you can't really do much here. And when you've got a lot of tanks behind you and you own this high ground, and they're not really contesting it very strongly, you can do all kinds of nasty stuff. Now, I'm doing exactly the same thing here in a T110E5. And the joy and the benefit of doing it on an E5 is that obviously you're a heavy tank, you've got a decent armor profile, and you've also got about 8 degrees of gun depression, which means you can do all kinds of nasty stuff. Funny thing about Rockfield though, like I was saying, you're never really safe. There's always other options and it's very snake-like in that you can move around the battlefield and be protected a whole hell of a lot, but there's no guarantees. Whereas a lot of maps you can put the zone line to your flank and be pretty safe. Rockfield offers many opportunities for people to flank. Now, they're risky flanking maneuvers, obviously. This is the other side of the coin. Mediums like to push up here first thing in the map and get shots on people pushing either down to the heavy area or TDs moving into the TD positions. And that's exactly what this RU and myself and the Panther 2 are doing right now. Those shots are really good, but they're dangerous. Lots of people will put a blind shot up in here and expect to put shots in here, and it becomes very much an easy damage farm for tanks as they roll on through. So you've got to be very careful when you're doing that. As the game develops too, people forget about that position there, and you can go back to it and do very, very well. Then you have the slightly outside lane just south of the sea cap itself. Now, this area here is fantastic for farming damage if you actually have a great hull down tank. And the issue, obviously, with that area there is if you get in a position where there is a tank on the flank, you can get pretty much shafted. And that's why the developers and the map designers put all these rocks in on this inside sea cap. It allows tanks to push up there and move to fixed positions where you can't actually see them. But if they're silly enough to come out of those fixed positions when they know there is a tank there, you can get very easy side shots in them. I really like the nuance that the map developers show on maps like this. You can see there are so many opportunities for shots, but only if people are silly enough to give them to you. Now, these are the safe spots on the map to actually start off and push towards. Safe, I mean, you're not really going to get spotted. And they're the very outside circles of the map. The parts that then branch off from there are up to you, and you can do what you will with it. But if your team's going to one of these areas, things are looking pretty hunky-dory. Where things will get absolutely off the charts bad is if people drive down the middle of the map, and you're going to see the Jaegeroo gets hammered by me when he does this. It is a terrible idea. Do not go driving down the middle of the map. It will result in tears, lots of tantrums, and lots of yelling and screaming, because someone will snipe you. You are visible from two flanks, and anytime that's a situation, people will come from miles around to hammer it home. And you're going to see, absolutely, if you can get to a position like this, things will be fantastic for you and your team. You can see I pushed up right here again on that inside area, and it's where tanks like the IS-4 and the IS-3 and low-slung mediums and lights, they can make a lot of hate because they can stay right under the gun. And for a tank like that FV215B to actually get shots in, he has to be very, very aggressive and push up and out of there. And it's not the best area to be doing that in. Likewise, the one absolute no-no on Rockfield is you just don't push through the middle of the map. If you push through the area below the cap circle, I mean, I've played thousands of games on Rockfield, and in the old days you could get away with it before they renovated the map, revamped it. Nowadays, it just does not really work at all. Now, here's an instance of that heavy route down the bottom. You can see I'm supporting it from all sides. If you can't hold that line there and you get pushed back, this is a really bonza spot to actually hold and go hull down and get shots in as they push around that corner very aggressively. That's what the red team's done here, and I'm able to get shots in at the back and still have really solid cover. Now, it'll all go to hell in a handbasket if they get too aggressive and push down too aggressively on me, but for all that, needs must when the devil drives, and this is very much the position that you'd love to be in. And the Panther 2 has a great gun for it, so it works out very, very well. It's a symmetrical map, right? So you get very much a mirror image on both sides. And that can allow you to have a fair amount of comfort with what's going to be a safe area and what's not going to be a safe area. But there's just so little cover once teams push. It's the kind of map where if you just roll out to take shots, you'll bleed hit points. And there's plenty of positions where people will farm your hit point pool quite comfortably because you can be seen from all over. I'd like to talk a little bit more now about the south wall, where it all gets a little bit hazy and happy. This area here is where I like to come pretty exclusively in Supremacy. I can't believe the amount of times I've had teams start yelling at me as a noob because I actually went over here in a Supremacy and I just capped A, and then they never capped C because C will always get contested. And one tank, just one tank, can stop that C cap from happening for like 60 seconds. And in that time, the other team can cap A and they can cap B because C cap is wide open. Now, this area is really, really cool for doing that. What then tends to happen, though, is people push across. And it's a lot like Desert Sands, where you get people who all go to the flank, the light or the medium flank, and then the grubs push across for absolutely no apparent reason. I mean, it's a crazy idea. I don't know why people who get an advantage like this, where you get both the cap points, then push back across, and they die. Now, you can see this is a pretty crazy kind of idea. The C cap didn't get contested at all. No one contested C, and one of their lights buggered off and took it. And then their light took B as well, and no one from our team contested it. And yet we're still going to win this game because the red team didn't stop and hold that. They had a 3 cap lead nearly. They just couldn't cap A. They then had to push all the way through. And they get punished for it. They get absolutely punished for it. I'm up here holding this heavy kind of area, but the red medium and TD that just rolled straight down the middle of the map and got hammered really, really blew it. If you do go this A cap area, there's some outstanding hull down spots for anyone who has a big turreted heavy or medium tank. You can get behind these areas here and really put in a whole lot of fire. And if anyone is over the other side of the map trying to snipe back across, you're pretty comfortable here in firing back at them. It's a very, very tough area to wheedle a strong heavy out of, like this Carnarvon that I'm driving at the moment. And you can see the Tiger 1 there has had to go across the top to try and get down and help out in that encounter cap area, and we've had an absolute whale of a time just pumping him as he went by. This is the essence of Rockfield. It's one of the best maps for making you keep your head on a swivel. There are so many ways to lose it, and there are so many avenues to constantly cover, and it can be really, really frustrating as a player to think that you've absolutely killed it just to have one super aggressive red guy who really doesn't know what he's doing pop up behind you and no one on your team can tag him, and you just bleed hit points out. That's exactly what I've done here to this poor old IS-5. Forced him to come around by going hell for leather over the top into the Centurion. So I hope you guys liked that. That was just a quick look at Rockfield. There are so many sniping positions and things around, and this area down the bottom is great for going semi-hull down in all kinds of big, nasty, heavy tanks. But for all that, it's a bit of an enigma, this map. There's no guaranteed spots. I think by far the most effective way, even in an encounter battle where I think you should be going AB, in a Supremacy battle rather, where you should be going AB, the best thing you can do is just kind of stick with your team. When you get separated, things tend to go very, very poorly indeed. And, I mean, you can see I'm not having a particularly fun time hanging out here on my own, getting pushed on by all kinds of tanks, while the rest of the team just kind of meanders about the joint, and it's pretty wild. That's Rockfield. It's wild, it's woolly, it's all kinds of nasty. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you guys do a little bit better out there on the battlefield as we progress down the track. Until next time, guys, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield.